love them. The other thing is, to be a professional soccer player, with no disrespect to any club organized setting, it's about the individual if they want to get to that level. The clubs can assist them and help them, but to get to that high level that some of these panelists are talking about, it comes down to the individual. The clubs can assist. I'm not taking credit for those 3 kids. We just helped them along the way. We were an assistance to them. By the time you're 15, realization sets in, I think, and maybe sometimes a little later. And most, in my opinion, in my experience, by the time they're 15 and 16, if you're an elite soccer player, your end result and your end goal is probably college soccer. I would say that would be the case. Now, as Alex said and some other people said, there are different ways to achieve that goal. The key here is you have to, like they said, it's a choice. You have to put your high school environment into consideration, your club environment into consideration. When Kyle Martino came and spoke at our banquet, he talked about the environment. And the environment is what impacts a soccer player, both athletically, socially, physically, cognitively, and all the things they're talking about. I remember he said one of the most important environments that he participated in was traveling to Long Island into a small gym, and I know Dan knows this, playing with a bunch of Jamaicans and Trinidadians futsal soccer. That helped him. That assisted him in achieving his goal, which was to be a professional soccer player. I think you got to weigh everything. There are different ways to achieve success, but when it comes down to being a professional soccer player, you need to understand what it takes and how you can get there. If you want to be a college soccer player and you're an elite athlete, there are many, many different ways to get to that level. But again, at the end of the day, the choice is based on an individual choice, in my opinion.
Thanks, Mickey. Rick and Brian, the Academy guys, talk to me about these 3 guys. What type of players are they? How did you identify them? Why did they stand out? Why did they want to become Academy programs? What are the type of players that you guys have in the Academy program? And if you can help define who they are and maybe kids that shouldn't be in the Academy program who may come to you and aren't good enough or aren't ready.
The group, the 1996 players, I coached that team previously before Kevin Bacher took it over this year. Homegrown players in that group, probably the majority, they've been playing for Oakwood since they were 10 and 11 or younger. I know Kyle Losi, I think, originally came from South Central. He's from Wallingford. But the core group of the team has been together a long time. They had good coaches at a young level, and their kids are committed, they're into it, and they're competing at a high level right now in the pre-academy league. They're sitting in 6th place in the table, and they'll be the core group moving up into next year's full academy team. You can ask them the questions. They already did it. They made the choice not to play high school, to stay ahead of the curve, and to experience it.
I guess the question was, just how do you help a parent out here recognize whether their player's good enough to play on an academy, and it's the right decision for them, versus, you know what, you're really probably not ready for 10 months of training a year, and how do you help make that?
I don't think that the talent question isn't that important. It's more what you want to get out of it. We're preparing these kids to play college soccer, okay? In the experience that we're going to provide, they are going to be able to enjoy the game more thoroughly, and they're being taught how to play the world's game. They're not being taught how to play high school soccer. The difference is very broad. I put the question out there to the high school coaches on the panel. How many of you have ever played in a game where there was no reentry? How many of you ever coached a game where there was no reentry? Period. It's a different game. Quite different. And it teaches different lessons, different tactics. It's a different model. And that's where we're a little bit behind, perhaps, in the world's game. I agree with some of the other comments about the technical problems that we have, but you know, the bottom line is the United States is not your typical soccer nation. We're a remedial soccer nation. We need more information out there. It's not built into the culture. It's coming. It's coming. I think it's more of a personal choice what you want to get out of the game as opposed to the pure talent aspect. Obviously, the players have to be to a high level, but are they going to be professional players? Probably not. They probably know that already. and they're at that age of 15. But they've made the choice based on the information provided and the environment that was provided for them. And I don't think it was a difficult choice. But you can ask them.
Yeah, I agree with what Rick said, and make a couple of additional points, that maybe, this kind of gets convoluted into, this should only be for guys that are looking to make the national team or go on to play professionally. Because, most of you won't. Okay, most of the players in our organization won't. We've had some over the years, and we're very proud of those guys and girls. But majority of them don't. They go on in the game. Some of them go into coaching. Some of them go into, business. We're producing better people is the way that we look at it. Key pieces of the puzzle to remember, okay? Making the choices are going to be difficult in some cases, okay? But if you're a student and you're looking at getting into an Ivy League school versus, a below Ivy League school, a little Ivy League school. If you're looking at, making a state university, or a local college or a community college, you're going to probably take a different course load when you're in high school. Why would you take an AP history class over a regular history class, or an AP math or an AP English? It's to challenge yourself. It's to give yourself the best opportunity to succeed and possibly to get a better look, to get into certain schools, okay? The academy is a choice that you make if you're really interested in pursuing your being an excellent athlete, okay? It's not for everybody. And some people, it's not the commitment that they're ready for. And that's fine, that's perfectly fine. The academy should be about, the best players and the most committed players, okay? And it is not for everybody, okay? We're not saying that. These guys, I think, are ahead of the curve in some respects, but, we're still, I think, behind right now, at least a year behind, California and Texas, okay? And 2008, Claudio Reyna told us a story that he went to Italy, okay, for a coaching symposium that was run by the Italian Soccer Federation. Okay? In the room, they had giant murals of their team, okay, celebrating winning the World Cup in Germany in 2006. They had the World Cup trophy sat on a pedestal in front of the dais like we are sitting on right now. And the Italian Federation was saying at that time, with the World Cup trophy in the room, and those murals on the wall, that they had to change radically what their developmental model was doing to produce players, to produce the kind of players that would continue their success. Okay? So the point that I make out of that is, we need to change. It's vital to change. And the rest of the world, okay, is not waiting. This is not just for, the guys that potentially could play in an academy team and get identified for the national team. It's about changing the game, okay? The developmental approach and the way players are coming out. Because right now, we're not producing players that are good enough. Simple as that. And Claudio made the point. He came through as a youth soccer player out of New Jersey, state ODP player, regional ODP player, youth national team player at every single level, played for every single level of the national team, all the way up, went to University of Virginia, won 3 national championships, okay, before he left college a year early and signed for Bayer Leverkusen. And he went into the locker room for his first day of preseason. And into the locker room walked Thomas Dooley, Rudy Voller, Paulo Sergio, Bernd Schuster, and he looked around the room, and as much as he was the probably most accomplished U.S. soccer player of his generation, he was not even close to being ready to play with those guys. Okay, now this is somebody that really has been a pretty accomplished and successful guy as a pro. Okay, he's seen it. He knows that the model needs to change. Okay, ours needs to change, and the rest of the world is not waiting for us. It is not for all of you.
Okay. Coach Anderson, how has this change affected your recruiting strategy at all? Are you watching more academy? Are you watching more premier? Where do you get most of your players? Huh?
Say it again.
Where do you get most of your players? Is it
we're